everyone. Just a few, just a few people grabbing their seats while they settle down. Thank you very much for joining us this Wednesday evening. I'm Valerie from Wyndham Social. On behalf of Wyndham Social, I welcome you to this space, which was originally LKF Tower and LKF Hotel for those who is the first time here. We renovated the space into a multifunctional arts and culture space back in 2022, and then right now it is a multifunctional arts and culture space. With this side, we do a lot of workshops and talks, and then the other side, we do have regular exhibitions. We are very happy to collaborate with the Hong Kong Bach Choir once again for the third, I think, edition of the music series that Jerry very kindly shares music knowledge on a lecture. And for the first time, we have live singing performance with Stephen tonight gracing our stage. So without further ado, I will now pass the time to April, the president of Hong Kong Bach Choir, to introduce the program, and then she will also introduce Jerry and Michael from Pinewood Wine. Hong Kong will kindly supply the wines for tonight. So applause to April, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming again. And thank you, Valerie and Wyndham Social, for hosting our pre-concert talk for the third time. So this pre-concert talk is for our concert on May the 17th, which is a Sunday. And our theme is Vienna. And we'll be featuring music by Strauss, by Brahms, by Haydn, and Schoenberg. And I wouldn't say too much about it because that would be the topic of the talk. And it will be by our music director, Jerome Hoberman, and our tenor soloist, Stephen Ng. And but to begin, we are going to start the talk by some wine introduction by Michael Cheung, who is our marketing manager of the choir. And he will start by introducing the first two wines, and then we'll hand it over to our two speakers.
Wines. So hello everyone, my name is Michael. I am the marketing in charge of the Hong Kong Bach Choir, and at the same time I'm the representative from Pinewood Wine Limited to sponsor the wines for tonight. So thank you so much for joining this event, and thank you for April's invitation. So today we are serving 4 wines for you. We are serving the champagne right now, and the champagne is actually from a very boutique style winery from the Champagne region. It's called the Schicksalslied. It's a Blanc Grand Cru. Does anyone know anything about champagne here? Any
It has to be produced in an area to be called champagne.
Right, that's a perfect answer, because actually a lot of people, especially in Hong Kong, not many people know about champagne. They thought any sort of sparkling can be called champagne. But in fact, Champagne is actually a little town in France. So only the sparkling wines using traditional method from this specific region can be called champagne. So it's a very special product. And on the other hand, this is what we call a Blanc de Blanc, white from white to be translated. So it's actually 100% Chardonnay, because on the market there are many types of grapes for champagne. For example, Pinot Noir, Chardonnay blend, or like a Pinot Meunier, and there are many options. And this is a 100% Chardonnay, which makes it more pure in a sense, and quite light and refreshing, because Chardonnay has a very amazing acidity that when you drink it, it feels like lemony, refreshing. So this is the first one that we are serving, and you can see that very interestingly on the program, I say that I'm pairing this with the Strauss. Because for those of you who came previously, because our previous wine pairings were simply choosing the wines according to the origin of the music, or like the birthplace of the composer. This time I'm changing the direction to the music style and the wine style. So for me, I'm not sure if Jerry would agree, but this piece of music, the Blue Danube, always reminds me of ice cream truck. Well, I'm not saying that it's not good, but it reminds me of a very casual, very very happy in a sense of emotion. So whenever I'm happy, I want a champagne, and well, at least for me, when I feel like I want to celebrate something, when it's a happy situation, I want a bottle of champagne. So that's the reason why I chose the champagne for the Strauss. But of course, at the same time, the music style of Strauss, to me, the piece, is also very melodic, it's very moving in a sense, and it's very gentle in a way, such as like a bottle of champagne, which is also very refreshing. It gives you a happy emotion. That's why I think they pair quite well. Not sure if Jerry would approve. But after the first wine to be served, the second wine will be a fleurie, which is a small region from the Beaujolais region. Beaujolais is a small region below the Burgundy, and it specializes in a grape called Gamay, which is a very light-bodied, red fruit-driven, a very refreshing red wine as well. And for tonight's program, I actually put it to the Brahms music, because when I listen to Brahms music, I always feel like it has a lot of emotions in it, but not in a way that it's very heavy, but more like, again, very gentle, very melodic. And a fleurie red wine, it's light-bodied, red fruits driven, it's very elegant, and it's quite fruity as well. So, but it also has its, like, not exactly like a full body structure, but more like a medium, smooth tannins to it, which I think pair well with the style of Brahms music. So don't worry, we'll serve you the red wine later on. And then after Jerry's talk, I will introduce the two wines after the break. So right now I'll hand the mic to Jerry, to Stephen first, and Jerry.
Together, yes.
Hello, thank you.
Hello.
I don't know about you, but I'd be happy to just listen to Michael talk more about wine. I think it's a lot more interesting than anything I have to say, but not more interesting than what Stephen will be singing. This talk, such as it is maybe a little bit unusual as a pre-concert talk, because most pre-concert talks discuss the music that's going to be performed in the concert that this is pre. But we're not going to talk about that music. We're going to talk about some other music, but we will talk about these composers. This concert is based around the idea of Vienna. Vienna is the famous city of music. And if you think about it a little bit, it's easy to understand why, because unlike most world capitals, Vienna historically was the capital of a very cosmopolitan, multinational empire. So Vienna was all about cultural exchange, much as Hong Kong is, after all. But to begin, I mean, I think we all have ideas about, if we're thinking about Vienna and music, what images that brings to mind. But I want to ask you, Stephen, when we put Vienna and music together, what's your instant reaction?
Well, it reminds me about my two periods of time that I was in Vienna. The most recent one was actually just 2 years ago when I was presenting at, happens to be the ICVT, which is called the International Congress of Voice Teachers. So I was presenting on a panel called International Connectivity in Voice Profession. So therefore, just like what you said, we are all from different places in the world, and the conference and also my presentation particularly is about idea exchange from different parts of the world about voice teaching. So that's big one. My second one is when I was spending a summer to coach with a Viennese coach on Schubert songs. So that's a one thing about that, to get to see where he was from, get to be walking around the city where everybody actually had the habits of going to a song recital and lining up for opera tickets that are locals. So that was something that is very, very great for me to see. So.
and we all have our own pictures. The concert, the music in the concert is the sequence of pieces has nothing to do with any kind of chronological order or anything like that. It has more to do with a sequence of moods and speeds and things like that. But we're going to approach the composers this evening in chronological order. So that means we're going to start with Joseph Haydn, who, like so many of the famous Viennese musicians, wasn't from Vienna at all. He was an immigrant, a migrant. He actually was from a little village on the Austrian-Hungarian border. His family weren't musicians. I mean, they liked music. They played folk music at home, but they were very much working class, and he came from that background. But his talent was discovered early, and he was brought to Vienna to be a boy soprano in the cathedral choir, one of the ancestors of the Vienna Boys Choir today. So that enabled him to get a good classical education, and he really never returned home. And he spent his life, most of his working life, actually not in Vienna still, but in Hungary, where he was in service to one of the great princely families of the empire, the Esterházy family. And so he was in Vienna only during the off-season, where he could hobnob with musical friends. His best friend was Mozart. But then, towards the end of his life, when he was approaching retirement age, his boss, the prince, died, and that prince's son didn't really care for music. He was very happy to have Haydn's name on as an employee, but he really wasn't interested in the sort of thing Haydn did. So he let Haydn be free to travel and make money, make a lot of money, which you could do in London. So Haydn made 2 trips to London, and when he came back, he was back working for the Esterházy family, writing a series of annual masses for them. And we're going to perform the last one of them in our concert, which is Haydn's last big piece, when he was already 70 years old. But one of the things this sojourn in the UK, well, it wasn't the UK then, in England, did for him was it introduced him to English poetry. And he wrote a series of songs to English texts, and maybe you'll tell us about them.
Absolutely. First of all, he wrote a lot of editions for the Welsh and also Scottish songs. That actually is a lot of them, and also 2 publications of English songs. Most of the subject matter is a little bit more relaxed about, the mermaid and the soldiers and all these people are happy. The one that we're going to present today is quite unusual. It is a song that is based on text by Shakespeare, actually.
It's Haydn's only setting of Shakespeare.
Yeah, and it's from Twelfth Night. So the song is called "She Never Told Her Love." I mean, if we have many Chinese here, that we understand that at that time women will pretend to be men to go on to fight. So basically, this is the character is going to the army, and she fell in love with another guy, but she is a he in terms of her appearance. So therefore, this is talking about Shakespeare's idea about how her struggle is. So may I also introduce my dearest and the fabulous Ming Kwong, my pianist today. And we decided, I mean, we know each other for a while, but we decided to we really should work together. This is the first opportunity, and it was wonderful. And I also want to talk a little bit about the reason why I want to talk about Ming also is because the song, the first half, has a significant amount of piano introduction that sets up the drama much more than the song itself. So it's quite unusual, especially that was the time when piano was a forte piano. So you think about this as like the color of the instrument is not as great as a modern piano is, but he really wrote it splendidly about for the keyboard instrument. Yeah.
So, Stephen, to introduce the song, do you know what the first line of the scene in which that text comes is? The Act 2, Scene 4?
Actually, I don't.
I'll tell you. The first line in the scene, give me some music.
Ah.
Over to you.
Wow. Oh, wow. Sorry. Glasses. There you go.
So that's what Haydn can do in a very small form, packing lots of feeling into, what is it, 37 bars, 30,
Yeah.
20, or something like that? Yeah.
Can't remember, but I'll count.
Whatever, it's some very small
39.
number.
39.
39, yeah. So next week you can hear what Haydn does when he's working with big forms. From that we're going to turn to Brahms, Johannes Brahms, another immigrant to Vienna. Most people don't realize that Brahms became Viennese. People who know of Brahms know he was from North Germany. He was from Hamburg. He grew up in one of the worst areas of Hamburg, in the red light district, and did not have a very happy childhood. Moved to Vienna when he was about 40. Which was, I mean, he's a mature person, but most of his famous music comes from after that. So most of the music we know of Brahms is Viennese. Now, this song, this Lied that Stephen's going to sing, it's really a very interesting song. Maybe you'll tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, sure. It's today. So the song is called Die Weihnacht. Yeah, God, I cannot think. Because there's a lot of songs about May. So this is also Weihnacht, actually means a May light, which is tonight. Yeah, Mayan Lieds, we all hear that. Early summer, seems to be everything great, hopeful. Not this one, sorry. Actually thinking about a lot of things, reminding a lot of the good things, but I leave you with my tears are flowing down my cheek, feeling hot. So it's a beautiful, beautiful setting, so much imageries and so much also beautiful melodies, because Brahms is actually known for his melodic writing. Particularly if some of the choir members are here, some musicians are here, pay attention to the last tritone to see how he said it. It's just gorgeous. But anyway, so keep going.
Yeah, and one of the things about this song is, along with much of the German Romantic song literature, the poetry is really, I would say, not top drawer. And that goes for Schubert, that goes maybe less for Schumann, but also for a lot of Brahms. Somehow it seems that dealing with the greatest poems can inhibit a composer, and some of these composers wrote their greatest music for poems that maybe aren't quite so great. This is a poem by a German poet named Ludwig Hölty, really, it's about loneliness, but in kind of trite terms. The thing is that when you get a composer like Brahms, he takes this very ordinary poetry and elevates it so that through his music, we have the illusion that this is really great poetry. And that's the magic.
Yeah, and I also want to point out one more thing, is like, if you ask Hugo Wolf or Wagner, who we also know has written a lot of vocal works, particularly Wagner, they certainly do not like Brahms because they think he is not following what the words are doing. But at the same time, just like what we just heard earlier, if the poetry is not considered first-rated, so maybe the composer has a lot more say about this too. So this is an idea that is like constantly is being tossed around to see what is the right answer, and our audience will have to judge that. Yeah.
So, Die Weihnacht.
Morgenrot durch die Seele mich strahlt, find ich auf Erden dich. Und die einsame Ferne gibt mir
Wow.
Sounds not very cultured.
Yeah.
So one of the pieces we have on the concert next week is one of the best known pieces in the whole classical literature, and that's Johann Strauss's Blue Danube Waltz. So it's a piece pretty much everybody knows, and it's always the second to last encore on the annual Vienna Philharmonic New Year's Day concert. So everybody knows it's going to come. If you don't hear it any other time, you hear it then. But what people don't know is that actually it was originally written for chorus. It was written for a men's choral society in Vienna to very topical, sort of sarcastic lyrics that meant something at the time and would mean nothing today. Strauss adapted it for orchestra to be played in a World's Fair in Paris later the same year. So it then always maintained a kind of double parallel existence. And later on, new lyrics were written by the official poet of that choir. And these lyrics are more general about the connection between Vienna and its river, the Danube. But being from the 1890s, these lyrics, also about the connection between, say, the Danube and the Rhine, and between Vienna or Austria and the newly formed German Empire. So it became a kind of German nationalist ode. And in fact, there's a reference to it, to the song "The Watch on the Rhine," which again was a German nationalist anthem that was adopted by the Nazis. So there's a kind of sour taste associated with it, but again, like a great composer can transcend pedestrian poetry, a great composer can transcend maybe politically not so appetizing lyrics. So we certainly hope that you give that a pass when you hear it. I think now Michael wants to talk about the other two wines. Is that, am I right?
Yeah, that would be great.
Because that's great. So go ahead, and then we'll have the last installments.
Okay, so I believe that all of you should have the second red wine right now, which is the Lerchi that I mentioned. So I'm not sure how many of you have enough knowledge to understand about the light-bodied and full-bodied. Does anyone have no idea what light-body and full-body is when it comes to wine? It's okay, don't be shy. Because I don't know. Right, so I guess you've always heard people talking about whether wine is full-body or light-body. So the easiest concept to understand is water is light-bodied, whereas milk is full-bodied. When the liquid itself has a texture, has a milky texture to it, we call it a full body. So for the current red wine that you're having, the Fleury, is towards the light body side. It's nothing like the, let's say, a Bordeaux or a Australian red that you usually drink that might be very thick and very milky, very full body. So this is what we call a lighter body style of red wine. And it's actually quite an easy drinking option if you have no idea what to pair with. Because normally, if you hold a glass of full-body red wine like in Bordeaux or Australian or American, you usually think of like perhaps a piece of steak or maybe something very heavy taste to pair with the wine. But when you have a light-bodied wine, it actually can easily be paired with many types of Asian cuisine or even Chinese food or even some Japanese food. It can be easily paired with. So this is a very easygoing red wine. And then for the two red wines that we will serve you later on, we have the Vin de las Fascas, which is a red wine from Ribera del Duero, a region from Spain. And it's more towards the heavier body style, the fuller body style. And the grape is called Tempranillo. It's also red fruit driven, but it's adding some oakiness to it because the wine is aged in oak barrels. In actually 50% of French oak barrels and 50% of American oak barrels. So it has a stronger taste of oakiness to it. The reason why I chose this wine for the Haydn's piece, it's because Haydn's music is very well structured. I believe especially our singers would agree when we sing it, it's very well structured. And this full-bodied Spanish red wine, it's also well structured with different layers of aromas. From the red fruits to the black fruits, to the oakiness, and to the dry fruits aromas, it's very well structured. And this is the reason why I chose this wine for the Haydn's piece. And for the last wine that we will serve you, is called La Viole du Pape from Châteauneuf-du-Pape from the southern France. And this wine is a very interesting one because on the list, you don't see the vintage, do you? Because usually when you drink a red wine or white wine, it mentions the vintage, the year of the wine. But for this one, it's actually a non-vintage, very similar to the champagne method. So it's a very unusual wine that they use non-vintage method to make red wine, because they want to make a red wine that you can drink whenever you want. You don't have to wait for another 10 years for the bottle to be ready. So they blended 50% of old wines over 5 years old with 50% of recent wine within 5 years. So in the same bottle, you have the aromas of both new wine and old wine. So it's ready to drink whatever you want to. And I want to show you the bottle of it. It's a very special design. It looks like nothing that you've ever seen of. So this is actually a very contemporary design, I would call it, just like the Schoenberg's piece, very contemporary. So for this bottle, it actually resembles the shape of the grapevine, you know, the grape plant itself. So it's like the thick tree trunk being blown away by the southern wind. So this is a very special design with historical region. So I find it very special, so I chose this wine for the Schoenbergs. And for this wine, because it has been aged for some time, so it will develop some aromas of dry leaves, dried herbs, and then dried fruits. And at the same time, it kept its fresh red fruits like raspberries, strawberries, as well as some black fruits like plum and dark cherries. So we will serve you the two wines, the amazing wines I mentioned earlier, later on. And now I'll hand the mic back to Jerry and Stephen.
So after Haydn and Brahms and Johann Strauss, we get to our fourth composer, Arnold Schoenberg. Now, Schoenberg is the composer that everyone loves to hate. He's blamed for everything that people don't like about 20th century music. Even by people who've never heard a note of his music. But the thing that, now, I mean, I can understand some of this to some extent. I mean, I dearly love pretty much everything that Schoenberg wrote, but I can understand that some of his later music, the so-called 12-tone music, it's easier to enter into if you're a professional musician with that kind of training than a casual listener. So I really do have a lot of sympathy for people who feel imposed on when Schoenberg is played. But the thing is that Schoenberg wrote a lot of absolutely gorgeous music that anybody would find gorgeous. His earliest music, pieces like the string sextet Verklärte Nacht, or Transfigured Night, the Göra-Lieder, his symphonic poem Pelleas und Belisande. Those are very much in the style of post-Wagnerian hyper-romanticism, very similar in style to the mature music by Richard Strauss. So if you like pieces of Strauss like Ein Heldenleben or the Alpine Symphony, or even things like Der Rosenkavalier, you would like those. And then there was a transitional period when Schoenberg was very much indebted to Mahler. Mahler was really Schoenberg's mentor, and he looked at Schoenberg as a kind of artistic son. He really saw Schoenberg as his potential successor. And even when Schoenberg went maybe a little bit too far and Mahler felt he couldn't understand it, he still respected it and hoped for Schoenberg's success. And when Mahler was dying, he said, "Who's going to take care of Schoenberg if I'm dead?" So it's really very very moving. Now, the piece that we're going to play next week, the Chamber Symphony Number 1, happens to be Schoenberg's most Mahler-like piece. If you say like Mahler's 6th Symphony or 7th Symphony, and if you know them well, you might even recognize some licks in the Schoenberg that are right out of those symphonies by Mahler. Little melodic figures and harmonic turns. I'm not kidding. I mean, they're really there. I read the score, and I in my score I've written Mahler here and Mahler there. I should have brought my score. I could show you. So what I really mean is, if you like Mahler, you'll like this piece. Now, Stephen's going to sing 2 pieces by Schoenberg. And another thing that people don't know about Schoenberg is Schoenberg's involvement with cabaret. So maybe Stephen, you'll talk about that a little, or you want me to talk about it? No, I should talk about it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll tell you about the songs later.
So you see that he's going to sing a song from the Brettl-Lieder. Now, a Brettl is a German word for cabaret, a variety show, a live staged variety show. And that originated actually not in Germany or Austria, but in Paris. there was this tradition of cabaret. But it was adopted and brought to first Berlin. And there was a theater called the Überbrettel, the big or high over cabaret in Berlin. And that introduced this idea of cabaret, literary cabaret, where adventurous poets would come and read their poetry, and there'd be music and so on. And that theater made a tour to Vienna. And it happened that the theater that they were playing in, the music director of that theater was Alexander Zemlinsky, who's a name that isn't remembered now. But he was one of the important German language opera composers in the early 20th century, and also one of the great conductors. And also happened to be Schoenberg's only significant teacher, and later Schoenberg's brother-in-law. So Zemlinsky offered Schoenberg the opportunity to write some songs for this cabaret. And Schoenberg did. He wrote 8 songs, 2 of which were bought by the Überbrettel, and not this one, 2 others. And in fact, the Überbrettel invited Schoenberg to move to Berlin to become music director of the theater, which he did for a year before coming back to Vienna. Now, I should say something about Überbrettel. It'll give you an idea of what this whole cabaret scene is about. Überbrettel is a parody of Friedrich Nietzsche's idea of the Übermensch, the overman, the man, the great man who's going to transcend humanity and take humanity to a higher level, which is an idea that for Nietzsche was very pure, but was easily, I don't know what you call it, ruined by people. Again, I keep bringing Nazis into this discussion somehow, by Hitler. Anyway, that doesn't involve us at all here, but this song is really very interesting. It's a parody, as cabaret tends to be. It's a parody of French symbolism. Maybe the French symbolist poem that people are familiar with is Mallarmé's The Afternoon of a Faun, only because Debussy took it and transformed it into a wonderful symphonic poem, which, according to the great composer and conductor Pierre Boulez, is the one piece that really ushered in the 20th century in music. The thing about cabaret and about this song that Stephen's about to sing is that it's got all the whole symbolist ideals, but without the kind of gauze that conceals the real honest meaning, which maybe you'll tell us a little bit about.
Yeah, the first song that I'm going to do is called Gazel.
No, you're going to sing
sorry.
You go first.
Oh, really?
Yes,
all right. So, it's quite... I figured out that to read your translation is probably the best way to tell you. Because, one of the reasons is you can think about what you think about. But I am a flirt in this case. Since I have seen sweet womankind, my heart beats to my knees. It hums and buzzes to and fro, just like a swarm of bees. And it like mine, hers flames full heat, her eyes glow yet clear, so striking like a hammer's beat, my pounding heart I hear boom, boom, boom. So that's the first verse. Second verse. I wish 1,000 women for me and hope the gods were pleased. I'll dance around far off the ground, up, down in all degrees. What life I'll live, what mirth, what song. Then I'll have joy and fun. I'll hop, and like a rabbit, I'll run. My heart will skip along, boom, boom, boom. Okay, here we go, the last one. The man who knows not women's price is neither cold or warm, and lies around a block of ice on some young maiden's arm. But I am quite a different one. I'll jump around the room, my heart pressed close to hers in sport. Would pound out boom, boom, boom. Okay, yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah. All right, just give me a second. There we go. Seit ich so viele Weiber sah, schlägt mir mein Herz so wahr. Es summt und brummt mir hier und da, als wie ein Bienenschwarm. Und ist ihr Feuer meinem gleich, ihr Auge schön und klar, so schlaget wie der Hammerstreich mein Herzen immer da. Bum, 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 ich wünschte 1000 Weiber mir, wär's Recht der Götter wär. Da tanz ich wie ein Ungetür ins Kreuz und in der Quer. Das wär ein Leben auf der Welt, da wollte ich lustig sein. Ich hüpfe wie das Haus durchfällt und Herd schlägt immer da. Bum, 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 wer Weiber nichts zu schützen weiß, ist weder kalt noch warm und liegt aus wie ein Brocken Eis in eines Mädchens Arm. Da bin ich schon ein anderer Mann, ich spring um sie herum, mein Herz klopft froh am ihren Mann und machen Boom, Boom, Boom. Boom, 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 Boom.
So that's one side of Schoenberg that you probably never imagined existed. So, and one of the interesting things is that Schoenberg later became the successor in Berlin, in the Berlin Music School, the conservatory in Berlin, as the chief composition teacher. He became the successor to Ferruccio Busoni, who was the teacher of Kurt Weill, who is the sort of iconic figure of the early 1930s, late 20s Berlin cabaret scene. And so in a song like this, we really hear the connection straight from Schoenberg to Weill, and they knew each other very well. But the next song that Stephen's going to sing is a very different one. It's called Gazel, and it's from a set just a few years later, maybe a year or so after the Aria aus dem Spiegel that you just heard. It's from a set of 8 Lieder that Schoenberg wrote right about the same time he was writing his String Quartet number 1 in D minor. I should mention that the Chamber Symphony, that everybody thinks of Schoenberg as this atonal composer. Everywhere in this Chamber Symphony there are key signatures, and everything is identifiable as being in a key, as is this song. Gazel is a classical Arabic or Persian poetic form from the 6th, 7th, 8th centuries, which has a very complicated poetic form of 5 to 15 rhymed couplets, but generally on the themes of the pain of loss, of separation, the beauty of love in spite of the pain it causes, things like that. The poem is by a more famous German poet, Swiss German, Gottfried Keller, who was mainly a novelist and the leader of in Germany, the literary movement called literary realism, which we maybe know best from French literature, because it sort of follows after Stendhal, but Balzac and Flaubert, and also in England, writers like George Eliot. The poem's relation to Gazel, it has nothing to do with its form at all, right? But it does connect with the Gazel form in its analogy of love to natural things. And maybe Stephen will speak a little bit more that these natural things that
I saw your
we
notes.
were talking
It's
about
really cool. So basically, I hold this person in my arms, the person holding a rose. The rose inside, there is a bee inside the rose, and the bee is pollinating. So this whole idea about everything is holding each other. Let's just say it that way. Yeah.
So it's a very sexy song. That's what he means.
Yeah. Thank you. Ich halte dich in meinem Arm, du hast die Rosen zart und eine junge Biene tief in sich die Rose hält. So reihen wir uns perlenhaft an einer Lebensschnur. So freuen wir uns, wie Blatt ein Blatt sich an der Rose schart. Und glüht mein Kuss auf deinen Mund, so zog die Thank you.
Wow. In the interests of absolute honesty, I am compelled to say that the chamber symphony is more like this song than like the cabaret song.
Short and sweet.
Sweet, yeah. So that's our introduction to the upcoming program, all of which has a relation to something you've heard. I mean, not just a relation because of the name of the composer, but really a deep musical relationship. So I do look forward to seeing you there. And thank you for coming. And now we have more wine and cheese and snacks. And hope to see you next week.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Yeah.